Hi. I I love the Bible. I love reading the Bible, and it's basically been my bread and butter since I started reading it, which was in 2000. My first Bible was one that I picked up from Kmart. It was the copy of the New International Version, and I was I was introduced to the Bible when when I became a born again Christian around that time, and and well, it wasn't an easy read at first. I mean, I ended up starting off at Genesis. Yeah, and then eventually somebody pointed me to the Gospel of John, and and before that, however, I was mostly introduced to I was mostly brought up on Bible stories when I was raised on Catholicism, and but I never read the Bible until until 2000. And when I started reading the whole Bible, it really was an eye opener. I mean, it's like what the ugh, like this this is a really serious stuff. Like, I mean, I knew that Jesus was the Son of God, but I never knew that Jesus was God the Son, as the scriptures say that he was. I mean, that, that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Yep, yep, and that's that tells me enough about who about who Jesus is, that he is God, in, manifest in the flesh. Another eye opener was that re- reading the story of David and Bashiva for myself. I mean, before then, I only knew the children's version, which was that David wanted to marry Bathsheba, but found out that she was already married to someone else, Uriah the Hittite. So, since Uriah was part of David's army, he told his commanding officer to put Uriah in the forefront of the battle so he could be killed. So, who got Uriah got killed, and David was free to marry Bathsheba. But that's not how the real story went down. And the real story was that David David saw Bathsheba taking a bath, and he got all excited about her. He took her into his home. He knocked her up. Um, she became pregnant, um, and David had to cover up his tracks, so he brought Uriah from the battle lines and got tried to get him to go home and sleep with his wife, but Uriah refused to do that. So even when David gets Uriah drunk, Uriah doesn't go back home to his house. So David puts him back into battle, but assigns him to the front lines so that he would be killed. So so Bathsheba wouldn't get killed when Uriah finds out that his wife is pregnant with somebody else's child, and yeah, And another interesting thing I found out from the Bible was that there is a book specifically about sex, which is called the Song of Solomon. I mean, a book about sex in the Bible, and and it's very pro-sex. I mean, that was one book I had to read for myself. And I enjoy reading the Song of Solomon. I mean, it's one of the books I find myself having to read when I look into new translation of the Bible. And I've been collecting translations of the Bible for years. I mean, I, I love the different ways that translators have told the same story over and over about God's people Israel and God's work through His people Israel to bring forth the Messiah, and all the history that came forth from the time the Messiah was born to His death, to His resurrection, and afterward, when the church became formed, and the day of Pentecost, people were baptized with the Holy Spirit. People started speaking in other tongues, and there was this apostle named Paul, who was originally a persecutor named Saul of Tarsus. He got blinded on the way to Damascus, and God heals him, and he went from persecutor of the faith to promoter of the faith. And he also wrote a good deal of the New Testament, which is amazing. Anyway, that's all I really have to say about this subject.